Well, time for us to do the newspapers. Mama, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, Roland. Welcome to the 3rd of March.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're going.
We are in a month where we celebrate Ghana.
Yes,
Making sure that we
absolutely.
climax it with some great celebrations
Yeah.
on 6th March.
Definitely. Well, we hope you're watching your good as well. If you missed the AM News with Roland Walker, well, you made it in good time because we're now about to review the newspapers. So we've got a couple in the studio. I'll do the Daily Graphic, the Finder, the Daily Statesman, and the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And as usual, Roland will say I'll do the rest. So let's begin. Let's see. I'm always starting with a graphic.
So let's start with the Times.
Okay, let's start with the Times. The Ghanaian Times newspaper front page. Here we go. Government honors 34 students for excellent performance in the 2019 BCE. So on the front page, there is the Vice President presenting an award to one of the winners. A picture by Geoffrey Buta. Also, VR Minister, Volta Regional Minister announces 10,000 Ghana cedis bounty for arrest of assassins of Sogakope Assemblyman. That story has been extensively reported here on JoyNews since it broke on Sunday, with our man Fred Kwame Asari, dashing there quickly and doing a very extensive report for us. So, of course, any updates, you would get it first here on JoyNews. Also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, Ghana loses $9.8 million to cybercrime, other criminal activities in 2019. There's ACP Dr. Gustav Herbert Yangsing, Director of the Cybercrime Units of the CID. Details on page 3. It says 31 suspected. Okay, so this has to do with another crime story, but the particular one that I'm sharing is that Ghana has lost at least $9.8 million to criminal activities last year, as against $105 million the previous year. Out of the amount, $6.8 million was lost through fraud, 2.7 lost to intrusion and stealing, and the rest to sextortion and child pornography. So the director of the cybercrime unit of the Criminal Investigation Department, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Dr. Gustav Herbert Yangsing, disclosed these to the Ghanaian Times in Accra yesterday, stating that 10 cars and $58,000 of the $9.8 million were recovered by the police. He also mentioned the reported cases to the units as forgery, cybercrime, remittance fraud, sextortion, and romance fraud, among others. ACP Dr. Yangsing stated that cybercrime topped the 192 reported cases reported to the units last year, representing 47%. As part of effort to reduce the menace in the country, however, the units would intensify its sensitization to the public. We could do with some education even here on the show, talking about sextortion and romance fraud. Hey, Charlie. All right, let's go back to the front page, though. More headlines to share. Police flash out criminals. Arrest 31 suspected in swoops in Accra. Police hunt for alleged kidnappers of women. This is in the Northern Region, and that has to do with the Northern Region Police Command, who are on a manhunt for alleged kidnappers of a 29-year-old woman, Abigail Addy, a resident of Polyofong, a suburb of Tamale Metropolis. In the center spread, government is working towards processing of cocoa for production of chocolate. Wolo Soyinka to deliver first anniversary lecture of Council on Foreign Relations Ghana. This is something that I would love to attend, to be part of the audience. A distinguished African writer and Nobel Prize winner, Professor Wole Soyinka, is scheduled to deliver the first anniversary lecture of the Council on Foreign Relations Ghana, which is a foreign policy think tank in Accra, on March 18. The lecture, the fifth in the distinguished guest lecture series of the Council, is on the topic Afro-Pessimism Against Horizons of Ebri Optimism. Wow, that's a lot. Let's do the back page. Mediama Great Olympics. ECG extends electricity to 500 communities in Eastern Region. All right, let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper, front page of the Daily Graphic. Auditor General halts road project with no funding. Avoid food with molds. It's poisonous. That's a call from the Ghana Standards Authority. Aflao board on high alert for COVID-19. You know what the latest is, right? The WHO, the World Health Organization, is worried that African countries, the continent, is just not ready. And this would consume us if we begin to make some serious recording of this virus. They're absolutely worried that we're nowhere prepared for this virus. Caged for 7 years, Beza regains freedom. Jailed wrongfully for 15 years for defilements. Oops. So an accounts clerk of a school in Accra who was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment for allegedly defiling a 12-year-old pupil of the school and impregnating her in the process has been acquitted and discharged by the Court of Appeal. Mr. Charles Chumesi, 38, was set free after the 3-member panel of the court unanimously held that there was no evidence that linked him to the said defilement, and also that some of the evidence was deliberately distorted to aid his conviction. Court, we therefore set aside the conviction by the Trial Circuit Court as affirmed by the High Court on the grounds that the conviction was unreasonable, and furthermore, it is not supported having regard to evidence on record. The appellant, Chumesi, is hereby acquitted and discharged and should be released from prison forthwith. Hey, Charlie. So a bit about the accusation, though. He was accused of defiling the 12-year-old girl in September 2012 when she went to pay her feeding fee at the school's accounts office. He was on remand and in prison for 7 years until he was discharged and acquitted on February 13 this year in a judgment read by Mr. Justice Dennis Ejay, who presided over the Court of Appeal panel with Justice Cecilia Soa and Amadou Tanko as members. Chumesi's lawyers, who argued for his acquittal, is Mr. Sani Mahmoud Abdul Rashid of the Legal Aid Scheme, while the state was represented by Ms. Sefako Bache, a principal state attorney. Oh, I guess the 195. It will be interesting, you know, if you can read the entire story, which is on page 3. Actually occupies the entire page. 195, I figure, could be his prison number. To be in prison for 7 years on a charge of defiling a 12-year-old, you know, and what he has lost throughout this 7 years. Hey,
in other countries,
this is painful.
You will be compensated. I don't know.
Oh, in Ghana, you will be compensated, but you have to make a very convincing case to get a huge sum. But you definitely get compensation. Oh, Charlie, too bad. I don't know if this distortion, if somebody deliberately did this to get him to be in prison for 7 years. I guess the judges will have to move away from deciding on the specific case and making some serious recommendations for people to be punished or something like that. I mean, how do you give back somebody 7 years? And we're not even looking at the kind of, you know, because people would see you in a certain way, and for defiling a child, Chalet. Oh.
It's good that the story has attached his picture.
Yeah, it's on the front page of the paper. Okay, on the back page, though, General Hospital closed for redevelopment. We've been sharing the alternative in terms of the plan B for the hospital with you. Volta Regional Minister visits Sogakope to assess crime situation. It's also on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Maybe the bit about La General Hospital closed down last Sunday to pave way for its redevelopment into a modern health institution. The redevelopment of the hospital has become necessary due to the dilapidated nature of existing facilities, which made it unsafe for both staff and patients. Let's see. Some residents and patients, this is just fast forwarded to the residents concerned, have meanwhile expressed misgivings about the closure of the hospital, which they say has been a place where they could easily access health care. A trader said it's not easy going to Kolebu for treatment because of the large number of people who go there, and so La General Hospital has always been very convenient for me. So that's accounts of residents who are complaining, but there's always the Kolebu Polyclinic. You know, there's a polyclinic before the teaching hospital, and people should, because the closure is absolutely necessary if they have to renovate. And yeah. All right, let's do the Finder. The front page of the Finder newspaper: 71% of CEOs positive about local business conditions. Dr. Awal woos Moroccan investors. One Ghana movement proposes 7 ways to get Ghana ready for COVID-19. Northern region on health time bomb is another story on page 10 and 11 in the Finder. That's one of interest. It says the fight against the proliferation of unlicensed chemical shops and the unauthorized sale of drugs in the northern region has been a Herculean task for the Pharmacy Council for some time now. In many parts of the northern region, including Tamale, it is not uncommon to see drug peddlers tie chop boxes to the back of their motorbikes or bicycles, selling drugs to unsuspecting customers. Others display the drugs in the open and under the mercy of the scorching sun, usually on market days, to catch the eye of passers-by and prospective buyers. Well, we also have a voice. So I guess if you read the entire story, essentially, you have to buy drugs from the appropriate places. Definitely not from a certain box, a certain chop box tied behind a bicycle or being sold on a table. That's not the place where you buy drugs. You do so at your own, what did they say?
Peril.
Exactly. Go to a place where they've written pharmacy or chemist, you know, and get it from the right places. The last newspaper for me, though, is the Daily Statesman. Front page: we can't leave any child behind. Vice President Baumia says free SHS will broaden opportunities for all. NPP exposes Mahama's lies on Cocoa Road. Alex Mould accused of hiding NDC killer incentives to E&I. Many more stories in the inside pages of the paper. Roland Walker.
Okay, so
start walking.
Okay, so let's get to the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Has on the front page, someone says secretly recorded Akufo-Addo in his office, and this was part of an.
Roland, share some details of this. Let's see.
It's attributed to Archbishop Duncan Williams. The story on the back page elaborates that the Archbishop revealed that somebody had the temerity to secretly record President Akufo-Addo in his office at the Jubilee House, a situation which the man of God has compelled the security team at the presidency to stop all mobile phones from entering the president's office. The founder of Action Chapel International made the revelation during his first sermon on Sunday. He described such secret recordings as evil and urged government to enact a law that makes such acts punishable. We also do know, we have Article 18.2 of 1992 Constitution has provision which cater to the breach of privacy rights. And
other persons were allowed to meet the president with mobile phones. Because unless that protocol, that's, it's not even the president. If you're entering, if you're meeting either a chief of staff or any of those in that particular building, you're not allowed to carry your phones. So unless they relax it for some persons and somebody took advantage of that and then recorded, that would be solely on the head of the person who allowed whoever it is to bring in those gadgets, because they've got a system that's already running. That's why I'm still, from yesterday, I'm still thinking about, it's not a revelation. That's been in
the protocol.
Exactly. That's what happens.
What I do know that if you're media or any other agent or assigned,
you're allowed to use your phone?
You're not allowed.
Yeah, you're not allowed to use your phone.
I am thinking, based on experience, having visited the castle or having reported at the castle, and now they're a little bit at the Jubilee House before. The thing is, your phones are taken away.
Yeah.
Those who get to go to the president's office are those close to him or visitors that the presidency will trust, will confirm. Yes.
So there are people who are allowed to take their phones.
For example, the chief of staff, the president's
so amongst that kind of.
So it has to be a
so
close.
this one is no revelation. I
So
mean,
it has to be a close grouping.
So
It's not like public.
So go and
the
fish
public
them
is
out.
allowed.
Exactly.
If you're a visitor, let's say, yeah, you can just.
I can't appreciate the story. Like, I don't know what big revelation this is.
Because there are serious matters of discussion that go on. I'm not sure how.
If you decide to relax your own rules and get somebody to bring their phone because of who they are, and they decide to record, that's your own cup of tea.
But
Deal with it.
The protocol is.
If you stick to the standards, we won't have that breach. Yeah.
I'm surprised that there was a breach.
I mean, you should be scanned thoroughly.
So when I went to listen to the Archbishop subsequently, and when I heard that, I said, well, and he's not a visitor to any of the presidents. I mean, the Fourth Republic. I'm thinking.
Maybe not.
Because I've cited him a couple of times. Yeah.
I don't understand you. As in, you're saying he hasn't been there,
or he's not a visitor. As in, he's not new to having visited presidents over the period. So, if he has been allowed, it's because maybe you're close to the person. And so I concluded it's only kith and kin or those who are close who will be allowed to use their phone.
But I think the standard should not recognize if you're so close to me or not. If that's the rule, then everybody must stick to it. The minute you begin to relax for the people you know, that's what happens. So this really will have nothing to do with us.
Not the public.
It will have everything to do with the people that you are close to.
Yeah, it could be trusted visitors.
So deal with that. So let's move on. Now that I understand the story.
Well,
better.
it's still a serious issue nonetheless, because
the issue of people recording.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't like it when I'm talking to someone, the person says, I hope you're not recording me. I mean, that would be the end of the conversation. And then I say that I know the rules that we work with. Why would I record you when you have no knowledge that I'm recording you?
But I think I would advise or counsel that it's better that you try not to send phones to people, to offices or the premises where you
strangely, that's what has happened.
Because you never know who will record, and
then they'll say it's you. But how would the person even know that you don't have a phone on you?
Wow.
Unless you go and you declare that I don't have a phone, or
that's another thing.
I mean, I think it's bringing issues of trust. Really, you don't really know who to trust these days.
Definitely. Other stories on the front page of the Dispatch: Greater Accra MPP fails Kandapa Jr. adverting for Facebook comments. Again, any of the things that we tend to do on social media.
Who is Kandapa Jr.?
I don't know. Sounds like me. I know. It hasn't been stated whether he's related to them. One person with suspected coronavirus symptoms dies in Kumasi, GHS boss. It was selfish for politicians to get fund scholarships, MPP, MP, and minister. The struggle for Ghana's independence, all retold, and again, the account on page 5, and all these stories are there. Now, on the back page, we have Ghana could lose collateral to Sino Hydro in $2 billion bauxite-backed loan. The IMF is warning. And then let's do the front page of the custodian. The custodian has on the front page, MPP begins vetting of MPP or of MP aspirants, no way for dual citizens. A number of social media posts about who is having a dual citizenship or not. And registered aspirants also not allowed. Daily Guide, Mahama awards 5 billion Ghana City Cocoa Roads with no cash. Senior Minister Defense Free SHS. And then we have Mayhem at Sugakope, one shot, has a picture of the late Marcus Mauto Ajakli. Yeah, that's the name. Ghana tests 29 for coronavirus cases. All right. Meanwhile, Manchester United, on the back page of the Daily Guide, want Sancho. Sancho is an England international, and he plays for Borussia Dortmund. Is very instrumental in attack and plays very well alongside the newly acquired 19-year-old Erling Haaland, the Norwegian. And in the middle there, they have got a great team. Yeah, I have to say. Okay, what do you have?
Oh, let's quickly do myjoyonline.com before we make way for sports. Unless we don't have time to do myjoyonline.com, otherwise we'll ask that. You go to myjoyonline.com for more news. Okay, yeah, here we go. So, La General Hospital, a man jailed wrongfully for. This is the man who was in jail for 7 years for defiling a 12-year-old. That story we shared. It's actually the front page headline in the Daily Graphic newspaper. He was jailed for 15 years, served 7, and then you know, the verdict is he actually didn't do it. He's not guilty. Fidelity Bank denies fake news about its intention to take over CBG assets. Kamla Dumont telling the African story, a reflection. It will be a good read. No evidence chloroquine can treat coronavirus. That's the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bedu Sarkodie, who is talking about reacting to claims on social media, really, that chloroquine or chloroquine phosphate, 250 mg, that's milligram, right, had been found by French and Chinese doctors to be effective for treatment of the virus. More of it on my jawline. Also, power outages, faulty plans let us down. Energy Ministry spokesperson. You don't get it, do you? We want a timetable. When something happens, why do you come back to when the thing has happened before you tell us? Like, we don't deserve to know what's going on and what the plan B is in terms of a schedule or something of a sort. And then you give us these excuses. Charlie, let's move on. La General Hospital shut down for $52 million reconstruction. Again, is the plan B we're talking about for residents and people who live around there. When I saw Apostle General Sam Crunchy Ankara on stage, I guess it's a feature. I would encourage you to check it out on myjournline.com. Medical announces marriage to Fela McCaffrey. As for these two, good luck to them, whatever they decide to do. Port Health Coordinator suggests self-quarantine for persons arriving from abroad. Charlie, we're taking this for granted. We're taking this for granted. People come and then we just laugh about it and ask, are you coughing? Do you have fever? And that kind of thing. And we're hugging them, we're shaking them, and they are back with us and doing everything with us. And we're taking this thing for granted. Ayo.
Oh, I had an interaction with the Director General, and I had some encounters with people who had traveled and returned just before the close of the last weekend. Met them at the funeral and asked them how they were checking. They said, "Oh, they just put the laser, you know, thermometer on me," and they said, and I said, so I asked, how do you track the people? Because if somebody leaves the airport and goes to, let's say, Kuntunsi, and you said, oh, because they filled the form. I said, even then, can you track them? If you say that you look at the destinations where they are coming from, etc., can you track them?
Yeah, we need people to also be honest. I mean, we can't have people policing everything that you write. You have to be truthful about the things that you give on yourself, so that if we need to track, we can. But there's more in that conversation, which will be aired right after sports. So stay with us. We'll bring you sports right after this.